The movie opens up with Michael Bryce, a top and reliable bodyguard whose job is to protect his client from their enemies. One fateful day, after he had escorted one of his clients, Takashi, to the airport, Takashi was assassinated. This left Bryce in shock because he felt he secured Takashi well enough. 2 years later, after the death of Takashi, Michael still hasn't recovered from the bloody event. He now works as a bodyguard for drug dealers in London. This time he makes sure that he has taken down all the bad people first off before escorting his boss, to avoid any hiccups. After rescuing one of his boss in London, he calls the agency to tell them about the bodies of the people he had beaten up while trying to save his boss. The movie then switches to Belarus, during the time of Vladislav Dukovich, a ruthless dictator trampled upon people's right and takes life without mercy. One time he killed a professor's wife and little child just because he felt the professor was preaching against him in schools. Back to the present day, Vladislav Dukovich, the ruthless dictator, is then brought on trial at the International Court of Justice, for all his atrocities and wicked acts he committed. The professor testifies to the International Court that Dukovich had killed his wife and kids and then took him away to an internment camp for 3 years. After the hearings, Dukovich attorney then cripples the prosecution by the lack of any concrete evidence against Dukovich. It is then revealed that numerous testifiers had disappeared after they appeared on court to testify against Dukovich. Professor was the only brave person left to testify against him. Back at Manchester, the Interpol headquarters, a notorious hitman, Darius Kincaid, is being asked to testify against Dukovich for the release of his wife Sonia. Kincaid, who loves his wife so much, then agreed to the deal. He was handed over to Agent Roussel. She is in charge of leading the security personnel that will escort Kincaid to the International Court of Justice. Kincaid was disappointed because he felt that the security wasn't strong enough to stop Dukovich's men, who had killed all the witnesses that is supposed to testify against him. Kincaid later gave in after he was told that they just had 27 hours to arrive Netherlands for the court hearing, and if he wants to save his wife he should get moving as soon as possible. Just as they left, they were ambushed by Dukovich's men. They blew up their convoy as they exchanged heavy gunfire. A lot of Interpol officers were killed as only Agent Roussel and Kincaid were left in the vehicle. Kincaid got out of the vehicle as he activated beast mode. He managed to take down all Dukovich's men with the help of Agent Roussel, but he was shot in the leg. After they had finished killing everyone, Agent Roussel takes him to a safe house. She tried talking to the Interpol, but Kincaid tells her that it wasn't a wise idea as the Interpol were already compromised and there might be a treacherous person from the inside working for Dukovich. He advises her to call someone that isn't involved with the Interpol. Agent Roussel then calls Micheal, the bodyguard. She tells him that she needs him to do a job for her and it is very urgent. Although Micheal didn't agree to help, she still texted him the address of the place saying he has to come. Meanwhile, the incident with the Interpol was reported back to the headquarters. They are told that Agent Roussel and Kincaid are nowhere to be found. The Interpol head became frustrated because they had limited time to arrive at the court. She then tells her assistant to triple the guard around Kincaid's wife, and then find out how the situation is in Netherlands. At the Interpol Remand Center, Kincaid calls his hot-tempered wife, Sonia. She argues with him, but later he calms her down by singing a love song to her. They were speaking, their line was interrupted, which made Sonia angry again. Micheal arrives at Roussel's apartment. He refers to her as Amelia. They begin their own argument. He accuses her of taking him down even when he trusted her. She tells him that she had nothing to do with the death of Takashi, and she only left him because he kept blaming her for the things she didn't do. After they had finished arguing, Micheal comes across Kincaid. As they saw each other, they got into a fight as they knew themselves as enemies, but during the fight Kincaid bled out from his gun wound and then collapsed. Meanwhile, it is revealed that the Interpol assistant, Director Jean Fouché, was the person behind the ambush. He goes over to meet Dukovich at his prison. He tells him that he has done what he asked and then requested for his full payment. But Dukovich became angry and then stabbed him with an office pen. He tells Dukovich that once Darius Kincaid is dead, he will get his money in full. While Kincaid is receiving treatment, Agent Roussel tells Micheal that Kincaid is a witness and if Dukovich is acquitted he will get back in power next week, but Micheal sees Kincaid as a murderer as he had tried to kill him 28 times. Agent Roussel tells him that he has to protect Kincaid and she can't do the work because there is a mole in the Interpol and they will find her. She tells him that if he does this one job, she will bring up his status back to elite. Micheal then agreed to do the job even though he hates Kincaid. The Interpol assistant got a hold of Kincaid's location after it was spilled out by the Interpol, so he calls Dukovich and then informs him. The Interpol arrived at the safe house alongside Dukovich's men. Micheal takes Kincaid as the two of them managed to escape the safe house. They got to the roof and then flee using Michael's car without being noticed. The Interpol identifies Micheal and then brings in Agent Roussel for questioning as they both had history together. She tells the Interpol that she couldn't trust anyone from the inside as they were already compromised, hence she asked Micheal for help. She is then stripped of her badge and told to surrender her weapons. Meanwhile, the Interpol assistant informs Dukovich's men that Micheal was with Kincaid. He gives them the car number they had used to escape. After Micheal and Kincaid had escaped, they abandoned their car and hijacked a new one that wouldn't be traced by no one. While on the journey, they bonded as they talked about their experiences as security agents. Kincaid tells him that he got captured by the Interpol because his wife sold him out. Although he still loves her because there was nothing she could do. The next scene switches to Sonia in her cell. The Interpol had come to ask her if she knew about the location of Kincaid, but she denies it, saying she hasn't spoken to him as she has only contacted her lawyer. She tells them not to worry about Kincaid because he is untouchable and nobody on the planet could kill him. Dukovich's men locates Micheal's car and then goes over to the hotel to ask for their camera footage. Just as they were searching for answers, they were told that a signal had been picked up and they know Kincaid's location. Meanwhile, during the journey, Kincaid tells Micheal that he has to pee and it was getting uncomfortable. So Micheal pulls over for him to pee. Kincaid then tricked him and tried to escape, but he was caught by Micheal. Just as they were arguing, Dukovich's men arrived at the place and started firing at them. They took cover, while Kincaid single-handedly kills all of them. As a result of the gunfire, their vehicle exploded, leaving them with no means of transportation. As they were walking together, Kincaid teases him for being in love with Agent Roussel. He then narrates how he met up with his wife Sonia. Just as they finished conversing, they come across a bus that offered to help them. Dukovich was told that Darius is still on the run, so he tells them to activate the backup plan because Kincaid has to be killed at all cost. As they alighted the bus filled with Reverend Sisters, Kincaid and Micheal then took a ferry to Amsterdam where Michael's safe house was. On their way, Kincaid tells Micheal that he isn't a bad guy because he takes down evil people. Meanwhile, Micheal protects them. So he is even a better person than Micheal. When they got to the safe house, he goes on to tell him that he should settle whatever dispute he has with Agent Roussel. As they got to the safe house, Micheal calls Roussel. He tries to act all emotional, saying he forgives her for everything she did, but she yells at him, saying they needed to be at the court by 5 hours, if not Dukovich will be acquitted. She then cuts the call angrily. Micheal goes over to check on Kincaid, who was having a shower, but when he got to the bathroom, he discovers that Kincaid had escaped through the window, so he goes out in search of him. Kincaid had gone to buy a tulip for his wife Sonia. Dukovich's men and the Interpol were already in the area waiting to ambush him. But Micheal intervenes, taking down all of them stealthily. Kincaid delivers the flower in a tower directly opposite to the building where Sonia was being held. She sees the flower and then recognizes that it was her husband's. Micheal catches up with Kincaid. He argues with him for taking such a risky move. Kincaid tells him that it was all for love and he wanted to make his possibly last moment with Sonia special. He tells Micheal to do same thing with Roussel. Micheal tells him that he is trying to patch things up with her, just that she sold him out and exposed his client Takashi to enemies. Kincaid then laughs at him, saying he was the one that popped up Takashi. This made Micheal angry as he leaves and abandons Kincaid. Bryce then goes over to a bar as he reflects on his life. Dukovich's men attacks Kincaid as the Interpol intervenes. This led to a fierce gunfight. Micheal then decide to help Kincaid again. During the long pursuit, Kincaid is able to escape with a speedboat after he was saved by Micheal, but unfortunately Micheal is being captured by Dukovich's men. They torture him as they questioned him on the whereabouts of Kincaid. Kincaid shows up just in time to rescue him. He beats Dukovich's men as he saves Micheal. The two then proceed to leave for Hague, where the court is located. On their way, Kincaid apologizes to Micheal as they settle their differences. Meanwhile, Dukovich's men were already in position as they wait for Kincaid and Micheal. They attack them as Micheal was about to confess his love to Roussel on phone. Micheal jumped out of the vehicle after an accident. Dukovich's men then pursued him as he escapes. Meanwhile, Kincaid used the vehicle to evade all Dukovich's men, in the process causing major accidents. Micheal on the other hand manages to defeat all the men that were after him. The two then proceeds to the court with only seconds left. Dukovich and his alliances were all surprised because they thought had silenced Kincaid. Kincaid then tells the court that Dukovich had ordered him to take down a political rival. But after he noticed that Dukovich slaughtered a whole village, he refused to embark on the mission because he doesn't hurt innocent people. He then provided the court with the massacre photos, which left everyone in shock. Dukovich then confessed to the court that he did all that and no authority can stop because he was the president of Belarus then. This caused an uproar in the court as the judge kept on requesting for order. Dukovich then orders his men to carry out the backup plan, which is bombing the court so he can escape. Meanwhile, as the Interpol assistant left the court during the conflict, Roussel deduces that he was the traitor and then goes after him. The bomb then goes off as everyone runs for shelter. Dukovich picks up a gun and tries to kill Kincaid, but Micheal saves him. In the process, he got shot. He tells Kincaid not to worry about him and he should go get Dukovich, who was trying to escape. Meanwhile, Fouché, the Interpol assistant, got into a fight with Agent Roussel. An injured Micheal then saves her by shooting Fouché. Kincaid goes over to the rooftop. He chases Dukovich as he takes down all his men. After he caught up with Dukovich, he kicks him off the roof as he falls to his death. Micheal is then taken to the medics as he reunites with his lover Roussel. Kincaid surrenders to the police for all the crimes he had committed, but months later he reunites with wife Sonia in a local bar where they danced and kissed. The end. If you love this video, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Goodbye till we meet again.